Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Three Buck Theater, and this is RT Recap for First Man. Of course, this is a very, very, very big Oscar contender, one that is going to go up against A Star is Born, one that they're hoping is actually going to win the Oscar this time and not actually get the wrong envelope. Right? I believe this is from the director of La La Land, and Ryan Gosling's like, no, I want it, goddammit. I really, really, really want it. But if you're unfamiliar with RT Recap, what I do here on the show, on this particular series, is I dive into critical reviews of movies that are coming out, and I give my take on it based on what they say, and hopefully give you guys a better understanding of what to expect based upon the summaries that are in fact provided. So First Man here currently sits at a certified fresh rating of 89%. Now we've learned, and I always like to make this clear, that certified fresh don't mean shit. It don't mean anything. But the general consensus here, as we're going to learn going into it, says First Man uses a personal focus to fuel a look back at a pivotal moment in human history and takes audiences on a soaring, dramatic journey along the way, currently sitting at 89% based off of 129 reviews, 115 fresh, and 14 rotten. So clearly, the Oscar bait is working. Clearly, people are excited to see what's going to be happening here. Now, the general plotline of the film is this. On the heels of the 6-time Academy Award-winning smash La La Land, but not Best Picture, Oscar winner Damien Chazelle and star Ryan Gosling reteam for Universal Pictures' First Man, the riveting story of NASA's mission to land a man on the moon, focusing on Neil Armstrong in the years 1961 to 1969, a visceral first-person account based upon the book by James R. Hansen. The movie will explore the sacrifices and the cost on Armstrong and on the nation of one of the most dangerous missions in history. So they're very much they're telling the story of the first time we went to the moon, which is a cool story. And with today's graphics, today's CG, today's ability, it's going to be very interesting. And it's got Claire Foy in it as well, Jason Clarke, Kyle Chandler, Corey Stoll, and Syrian Hinds are all in the movie, and all are top tier actors in my opinion. I'm a big Corey Stoll fan, so I would probably go see it simply based upon him being in it as well. Now, critic reviews for this right now, we see here from David Sims from The Atlantic saying First Man is about Armstrong's landmark achievement, but it's just as much about a country's grinding, maniacal fixation on getting him there, which tells me that it's not going to just be about Armstrong and the ups and the downs over the 8-year period. It's going to be probably from when JFK says, like, we're going to put a man on the moon, and then the 8 years later to when they got there, when they got him to the moon, that it's going to be a lot of the nation's struggles and everything, what's going on probably in the country at the time. There's a lot of civil unrest. The civil rights movement happened during that time. Vietnam was still a thing was a thing during that time. A lot of other aspects of our country, of our culture, of our history. So I'm wondering if that's going to play into that at all. James Berdinielli from Real Views here says, for those who can get past the shaky cam aspects that infects the cinematography, this is an involving look back at a time of one of the most significant human endeavors of the last century. So Damien Chazelle, from what I can gather, obviously went to his cinematographer and like, we want this to be a visceral experience, as the description did mention. So let's go in for the shaky cam. Let's make it feel like you're in the seat with Neil Armstrong. Obviously, this is one that I think has probably been crafted for 3D, one that's going to play in the large format settings and use that as a way to further exemplify that visceral experience. But according to James here, that could be a little bit too much. If you're going into this movie expecting Apollo 13 cinematography or the vast majority of, let's say, Interstellar cinematography, you're going to be probably on the outs on that one. Now, Rafael Guzman from Newsday says here, for better or worse, First Man feels like a close cousin to Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk, another film that masterfully reproduced the sights and sounds of a world-shaking event. The people involved, though, don't quite come as vividly to life. And that could be a problem where they're focusing more on the technical aspects or focusing more on what people probably want, which is to feel that visceral experience, that visceral response to landing on the moon for the first time, seeing the Earth in the distance, and trying to be part of what was Neil Armstrong's shining, most defining moment on human history. But then, of course, the characters may have, in fact, taken a bit of a back seat. And that's unfortunate because this is, in fact, a character study. You want to be there with him, right? You want to be there with Neil Armstrong when he sets foot on the moon for the first time, when he says one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. You want to feel like the people Like you're there with him, or at least feel like the people in 1969 that watched it happen. It happened 13 years before I was born. So, you know, like I couldn't see, I was never around for that. So I would never have that experience, but I can only imagine what it would be like watching it on TV. And I think I'm hoping they're going to try to capture that a little bit here. Now, Kate Gardner from the Mary Sue didn't like the movie, but it's from the Mary Sue. So I don't really think that's out of the question. She says, feels as though there's been a tonal misstep. Someone didn't read the room properly. We don't need apolitical platitudes. Okay, well, maybe then I'm wrong about my assumption on like going through the decade at the time and talking about the political situations, because maybe they played it too safe. In fact, actually, I forgot about the whole situation involving the flag on the moon and them not including that scene. So maybe that's what Kate here wants. Is Kate wants it to embrace the political, embrace that, and they decided to not do that, and that's something that's a negative. Anyway, Carrie Darling here from Houston Chronicle says, while it celebrates the struggle and technological marvel that was the Apollo 11 without resorting to empty histrionics, it's also a well-wrought character study of a man whose tight-lipped demeanor belied the emotional turmoil rolling beneath the surface. So it's, again, so while some people have said it didn't give enough to character, this one says that they got a lot out of Neil Armstrong. So again, it's always kind of a juxtaposition from one person's opinion to another, and it's our job to try to separate it. Ann Hornaday from Washington Post here says, it gets the job done with professionalism, immersive authenticity, and an unadorned feeling of which Armstrong himself might have just approved, however apprehensively. I'm wondering what that apprehensive part means. It's got to be that there's certain elements of the story that were changed to better fit the filming of it, to better fit the story. Because you know how they always adapt certain things, and it's not always 100% how things were. So I'm wondering what was changed in order to make that particular line be included. But she did give it 3.5 out of 4 stars. So there's that. Dan Merle from Screen Junkies, again giving it a positive, saying it's a stunning technical achievement, inside of which exists a really compelling and profoundly impactful personal story. So again, does tell me this is all about Neil Armstrong's story. This is Neil's story, and it's everything else revolves around him, which it feels like he's good, but everything else may take a bit of a hit because we're getting his perspective and maybe not other people's perspectives as much in order to flesh out the story. Julian Roman from MovieWeb here gives it 4 out of 5, saying First Man is an intimate portrayal of an American icon. It is a candid, searingly honest look at a stoic hero and the stalwart wife who bravely supported him. So that's obviously Claire Foy's character, and you know that is something that you never really hear about is Neil Armstrong's wife, because we know about that from like Apollo 13, where they focused a lot on the families and things like that, you know, like the worry about them going up and the worry about them coming back, especially when everything went down. So in regards to this, is this a situation where we're going to get a lot of that, again, that 8-year trek from the announcement of the program to when it actually happened, and Neil Armstrong going through all the trials and tribulations and how it had an impact on his life with his wife. And I think that's going to be interesting. I think that's going to be fascinating. Now, Dustin Putman here from the Film File did not care for the movie. He says, a great idea in search of a film to match. Okay, would like a little bit more in terms of a conclusion, but I guess he just didn't care for it. Stephen Day Gray Dennis from the National Catholic Register says, ultimately more about the man than the first above all. It's the story of a fragile human being who was never the same after a defining tragedy, who loved his daughter to the moon and back, giving it an A-. So it's more about Neil Armstrong versus the journey to the moon, but it's called First Man. Like you kind of get that already. I think that was already kind of explained, but at least it's about a father who loves his daughter, and that's going to be a big compelling part of that. I have a daughter myself, so I think that's probably, and she's 10 months old, so it's like I'm a new parent still. And I have a feeling that that's going to probably impact me the most, is that relationship, because those kind of things now impact me a lot more than they used to, because now I have kids. I have a kid. Now, Ann Cohen here from Refinery 29 says, it is a love letter to the scope of human ambition, but it's also conscious of its limits. Josh Singer's script doesn't gloss over the more controversial aspects of the space program, nor its detractors, whose concerns are given fair consideration. Now, that is interesting, Because again, we're talking about like apolitical platitudes from what Kate Gardner said on the Mary Sue, to this talking about the controversial aspects of the space program, and there were controversial parts of that. It's detractors, and they were given fair consideration. So they're at least giving some consideration to it. So they're giving some talks about the political nature of it, but maybe they just didn't hit it on the head well enough for Kate. Again, again, juxtaposition of thoughts and opinions here. Now, Christopher Lloyd from the Film Yap, not that Christopher Lloyd, but a different Christopher Lloyd, says First Man is more concerned with the space between Neil Armstrong's ears than the dark matter that lay between him and the moon. But for those who favor films that portray real people realistically, this one shoots for the stars. And that to me basically says it's about Armstrong. It's not about the process of NASA building, the Apollo 11 and the mission to get to the moon. It's clearly a biopic about him. And that is, again, it's Oscar bait. This is kind of like the movie right now. This is the movie to beat. And remember, Gravity came out in 2013. That was a real big hit for space. For people going to see it in 3D at the time, it was very well received. And I didn't really care for the movie personally, but a lot of people did, and it went on to win Best Picture. I'm pretty sure it won Best Picture. Could be wrong on that one. I'm pretty sure it did. I'm pretty positive. But this one feels like Damien Chazelle is like, no, fuck you. I'm going for the gold. I am going for the gold. Space is really big right now, especially the fact that SpaceX just launched from the West Coast and then brought the rocket back down a couple nights ago. That was a big thing. I mean, like, space is big, and telling this story in a compelling way about looking to the future, about everything else that's going on with that type of evolution of that project, I think is going to be really good for moviegoers who want to go check out. It's going to be like a more serious version of The Martian. I mean, Martian is science fiction, obviously. This is more based in reality, considering it's based on a true story. But you guys get my point. You get my point here, right? We like these kind of stories about off-world stuff or going off-world, because I think a lot of people have always looked to the stars, looked to the heavens, looked beyond our planet. And we're at a place now in our technological advancements where it's getting closer and closer to the time where the average person will be able to leave this rock. They will be able to, probably before the end of my lifetime. I don't think I'll ever be able to, God damn it. But I know people, my daughter, by the time she's old enough, she's my age, or she's, older, they'll be able to do that. So who knows what the possibility is for that going forward. But this does seem pretty good. It does seem like a pretty solid film, and I definitely am looking forward to seeing it when it comes out, which is this Friday, up against Bad Times at the El Royale. So if you guys made it this far, let me know what you think in the comments below. I am curious to know your thoughts about this one. Do you think it's going to be a good movie? Do you think it's going to be just another Oscar bait without telling a good story, but it's clearly being made for the Academy? Do you think that the Academy in its current state is going to approach it in the same way? These are things I do want to know. Let me know down in the comments. If you made it this far, type moon into the chat so I know you guys did. And as always, if you want to get my review on it, hopefully I'll be able to see it this weekend. If I have time. I don't know if I'll have time. I'm going to try to go see at least one, Bad Times or First Man, one of the two. Probably more. I'll probably try to go see Bad Times first, and then I'll go see First Man next week. But anyway, $3 reviews, link below in the video description. Check it out, subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.